Peace and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religions. And Wednesday's show on Not Wednesday. Welcome, Mac. Welcome, BigZebra.com. Guys, check out BigZebra.com if you haven't. It's at least good for a laugh or two, maybe more than two. Big Zebra, you said you had something to start with.
Yes, tonight we're going to be starting off with the discussion of Canaan and the Canaanites. And I thought I would tell you my own issue with the Canaanites that came up. A long time ago, I worked for a Canadian publisher. It was really an agency, and they represented Simon & Schuster in Canada. And the publisher's name was very weird. It was called Distican, Distican, and it stood for Distribution in Canada, which was, a terrible name. So eventually the company decided to start a newsletter, and I was told to send in questions that the company could then answer. And the idea is that in the newsletter, which everyone would of course read, you might ask a question about company policy or something. So I submitted my question, which was not printed. And it was, if we work for Distican, are we Disticanians or Disticanites? And I think they felt that question was not suitable for print. And but anyway,
too controversial.
Yes, another guy who managed to he was supposed to write a little profile of himself. He said he talked about his career in publishing, but he said in his spare time he liked to fight crime. And I don't think the boss appreciated that one at all either. Anyway, back to Canaan, and I understand Richard has done some work on this. So
yeah, I've gotten past the first few mentions of the Canaanites in the literal translation I'm doing of the Bible. I'm sorry that people already claim to have done a literal translation. I can promise you they're liars. They may have intended to do a literal translation, but because of their presuppositions in reading the text, the religion already existing, them having existent ideas about it, they did not. They did not, absolutely did not do a literal translation. How about this? How about we start with BigZebra.com, and then we'll go to Mac, and you guys tell me everything that you know from Christianity about the Canaanites.
So me next then. Okay, well, the little I know about the Canaanites is that they occupied the land that God had promised to them. And apparently God can promise other people the land you live on. And so that when the Jews came to the Holy Land, supposedly fresh out of Egypt, that was where they had to kick the Canaanites out or kill them. That's the case, maybe. Over to you, Mac.
That's not bad. That's a good portrait, I guess, of who they are in that context. They also are they are specifically named as the offspring of Ham, which was one of Noah's kids, and so.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So, and it even says that they were scattered amongst the earth. So, in
order to be the servants of the others, right?
That's not going to be Ham. That's going to be Shem. That's going to be Shem, the name of conspicuous position. Shem literally means the name.
I did not know that. So,
I've
sorry.
been looking up words.
Yes. So Canaanites. Sorry, when we think of Canaanites, does the Bible tell us they're descendants of Ham or Shem?
Ham.
Yeah.
All right.
And that, that, in my opinion, that presents another conflict with portraying the Canaanites as the bad guys later. I mean, they're literally, they're the ones that God rescued. So it's that doesn't, like, that understanding of it doesn't fit for me. So
that's okay. It doesn't fit the Bible either.
Right.
So what can we refer back to you there, Richard? What were your findings after looking over
okay,
this?
so I've already translated the names Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So we can look up the word Ham, and I'll have an accurate translation of that, a literal translation of it from within the Coherent Bible, and then we'll move down to the Canaanites. Canaanites just means people from Canaan. But Canaan is a derivative word that has a root to it that applies to the word Canaan. Okay, so actually I'm going to bring up both. So here we have Canaan, right? I'm going to switch screens so I won't be able to see chat, guys. Okay. So here we have. Can you guys see my cursor? Can you see? You can see.
Yeah.
They can't see.
Let me enlarge the screen here. Okay. Yes, I can.
Okay. So you've got Canaan, which is actually Canaan. Okay, and it's rooted in this word right here. So we're going to go to that word, Kana. Now, Kana. Here's the usages of it, but usages are not definitions. These usages are very subject to presupposition of the person doing the translation. This is how they used it, okay? But it's not always a good representation of what the word means. So instead, I go down here to the definition. To be humbled, to be humbled, to be subdued, to be brought down, be low, be under, be brought into subjection in the nifal form, to humble oneself, to be humbled or be subdued, that is of self. And then in the hifil form, to humble or to subdue as an action. Okay, got all that? Let's go back. And you can also, read the Strong's definition. And on Blue Letter Bible, they often have comments by Jusinius or by Strong's, something like that. It's a pretty good resource, pretty thorough. And it will also include textual variants. That is variations if there is one, it'll include that. Canaan, a lowland. That's literally what it means. Now people take that to mean compared to the mountain that's near it. But then you'd have to call every area at the base of a mountain lowland, and everywhere would be Canaan all over the planet. It's not the way it's being used. After all, it talked about being made low or being put low or volunteering to be low. So it's that kind of lowland. It's the land of humble people or people that were humbled. Okay. And that's what lowland there means. When you speak to Christians about it, they go, oh, it means lowland. Well, yeah, but you really need to go deeper than that. So there's the basis of that. And then I'm going to go to the literal translation. And I've got more than one up, which is confusing. And that's not the right one. Let's go with the other one. Sorry.
No worries, Richard.
I could have closed out the other tab. I didn't. Here we go. Okay. And I'm going to eliminate our beautiful faces or your beautiful faces and my face so that people can read that. Okay. And I'm going to switch screens. I am not able to see chat right now. Okay. So here we are in 9:18, the first mention of the Canaanites. But as you said, we should go back, and I'm going to have to find it because I wasn't prepared for you guys to know that much and for the discussion to get that deep. But I'm going to go back to the children of Noah, if I can find it. Let's see, should be right in here somewhere. Tell us a joke or something, one of you guys, while I'm looking for this.
Jeez, it's a good joke. Over to you, Mac.
I told one on B's channel last night that I think you both missed. Maybe what keeps? I can't believe I'm going to say this twice in 2 days. What does an Amish woman need to stay happy?
I don't know what.
Two Mennonite. Two.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Mennonite.
Wow. Oh my God.
I was once offered by two women who were only about a year apart and were sisters that I might enjoy them simultaneously.
Oh my.
Holy shit.
And I replied to them, I think one unsatisfied woman in my bed is enough.
Yes.
I don't need two.
So true. So true.
Well, that's quite an offer. I'm impressed you turned it down.
Well, it was my wife and her sister. I had good reason to turn down her sister.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do after family reunions after that?
That's awkward.
That would be yes. No. I did kiss her once while my wife and I were only dating, but it was at my wife's behest. I mean, my girlfriend's behest at the time.
Okay.
She was bragging about me to her sister and insisted. But anyway, moving on then.
You lead an interesting life.
It's been weird. So I put a break in the chapters here between 9:17 and 9:18. The Bible doesn't have that, but in their presuppositional reading frame, there's no change of topic, where I see an obvious change of topic here. It's going on about angels and what they do, and then it switches to Noah and what he does, which is, I think, a separate topic. So this is detailing the nature of mankind in the great day of the Lord. And formerly there was no break in chapter here, as I said. Would it help
in the past,
if I brought up the original text and switched back and forth between them? Would that be helpful? I think I should.
It would be for me. Here's
a good idea. Would you bring up Genesis 9:18?
Okay.
Mac.
Got it.
Great.
I got it.
So
NIV.
You have that in front of you?
Yep.
Okay. Would you read all of and only 9:18?
Okay. It says, the sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. That's in parentheses, that last part.
Yeah. Okay. I think the better translation is, it will be better for the building block sons of the giver of rest to proceed into heaven. And of those are Shem, those of appointed name, Ham, those who grow warm, and Japheth, those open to persuasion. So that was the giver of rest sons, those appointed by name, those who grow warm, and those open to persuasion. Because Ham, those who grow warm, is the chief of Canaan. And Canaan, if you dig far enough into it, means subjected by traffickers. That's what brought them low. Like if I go back here to the word Canaan, I should have done it in the first place, and look for the roots of those words. I should have done that in the first place. I didn't. I'm a failure. But anyway, they are brought low by traffickers. That's the word used. That is what's bringing them low. And would you read 9:19, please?
All right. It says, "These were the three sons of Noah, and from them came the people who were scattered over the whole earth."
These are the three types of building block sons of the giver of rest. And of these was the whole earth populated. So I think what it's claiming there is there's three kinds of people here. And I think it's true. Those of appointed name, those open to persuasion, and those who grow warm. I think that covers it. 20?
Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard.
That's it?
That's what it says for 20. Yeah.
Wow, they left a lot out. I'm kind of surprised. I forget how much they leave out. It takes
There's
me
a footnote.
which is?
It says, "or soil was the first." And it's after, that's after the word proceeded.
Well, I see why they brought up soil, because part of the idea of being a husbandman is being a husbandman of the blood-dyed red earth.
Right.
So that's why they brought up soil there, but then they left it out of the text when they translated it. Sorry. Okay, so it pained and grieved the giver of rest to begin the gathering of grapes. For those who don't know this lingo, gathering of grapes means gathering for the wine press, which is a definition or a colloquial way of saying what would be definitively called end times or the great day of the Lord. So it pained and grieved his heart, the giver of rest, to begin what is essentially the great day of the Lord or end times. It's easy to imagine why, because it's going to be a difficult time for us. Beginning the gathering of grapes subjected them to desperate wickedness, and Enos is the certain husbandman of the blood-dyed red earth because of planting that vineyard.
What?
Is Enos not even mentioned in that? I don't remember you saying Enos.
There's none of that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it just says, "Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard." Is this just a really bad translation I'm on? It says the NIV. I mean,
they left Enos out complete. Oh, I know I didn't invent the word Enos right here.
I got to go blue letter on this.
Is blood-dyed red earth another way to say Adam? Or am I making that up?
No, you're not completely wrong. That to be the animal that turns red in the face like the red clay of the earth.
Right.
But then when it says blood-dyed red earth, it's talking about end times again, and that there will be a amount. It's like lamenting it and actually overstating it, the number of deaths of human beings on the earth due to the events. So it's I think what it's trying to do there is object to the number of people that end up dying because they just refuse the new paradigm. So it really overstates it. Like in the book of Revelation where it says 7,000 die. But the expression they used to say 7,000 died in that same event in another part of the text says the blood was all the way up to the reins of horses.
Right.
Well, I think you could liquefy 7,000 people, and you'd have to have, something no bigger than say certainly a football field, and only maybe a 5 foot deep container, and then maybe it could come up to the reins of horses. So I think it's really trying to lament it.
Or maybe they're just exaggerating for effect, right?
Yeah, they're exaggerating because how objectionable it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, I find it strange that you get off the ark, and while of course you need something to drink, and adding alcohol to water will keep you alive, it's just that somehow planting grapes strikes me as odd. Because if I remember correctly, it takes a long time to to get grapes to a grapevine to produce grapes.
That has nothing to do with grapes at all. Would you agree with me that when people hear about religion, that they mostly have two reactions? Either they're really against it, or they're in love with the idea.
I suppose.
Have you ever noticed when someone gets drunk, they either get very, very lovey or they get combative?
Oh, yes. Okay.
That's why it's using drunkenness to express being overcome by the situation. Is because people, in the face of new knowledge, they normally go like one of two ways with the new knowledge.
All right.
This is how the giver of rest, or Noah, becomes a vineyard keeper. That is to say, he has children on an earth that he has to give rest to. That's why he is the giver of rest, and he is drunken on them. That is to say, something like, the one who collects us into heaven is really in love with us and kind of mushy and drunken about it. If you wanted to go that far with it.
Well, I'm not ready to, but I'm willing to listen. Keep going.
Where were we? We were at 20.
I'm stuck on 20. I can't find Enos. I went to the Blue Letter Bible too, and the King James. Unless it's implied from 19, I can't find it in 20 at all.
It's in the Greek.
It's in the Greek.
It doesn't appear in the King James either, as far as I know.
Okay. The King James, yeah, the verse is very similar to the NIV. There's the Septuagint. I'm not handy enough with this. I'll check it out later.
You want me to do it, or?
No, it's good. I'll check it out later. I'm fascinated with that. Like that is severely abbreviated in these other versions. I mean, that's
I'm not going to ding on them too hard, because they were trying to make it a small book that a person could carry around.
Right.
And that was part of the effort of reducing it as much as possible. In that, which one was that? Which council was that? But anyway,
right.
That was part of what they were trying to do. So anything that I think they were trying to reduce it. I'll just stop right there. But I think Enos is an important idea when Enos means the certain husbandman. I mean, if I said to a Christian, the certain husbandman, in this context, what does that mean?
Well, usually when you say, you think of husbandry as controlling, more likely, animals. We think of animal husbandry, but a husbandman seems redundant, a tautology. If it's a husband, it has to be a man.
Not that women can't do husbandry.
Yes, I guess so. But
you're right. It is It is specifically saying man.
Of course, Enos is probably male then. So, I feel a little bit odd about all this passage. Frankly.
Well, Enos was used as a male name for the reason that it means husbandman.
Okay.
It means male. Yeah.
Yeah, not that the Bible, I don't think the Bible ever addresses the transgender issues that we appreciate today.
Well, it doesn't talk about sex at all.
Right.
It also doesn't talk about slavery, theft. It doesn't talk about a lot of things that we experience in real life.
So anyway, so they edited out Enos, which seems the same.
Apparently, yeah.
It's like being an actor and having your work on the cutting room floor.
It is a bit like that. I mean, if I wrote you a love letter, I hope that whoever delivered it didn't cut parts out before they gave it to you.
Oh, Richard, I didn't know you felt that way.
I do. I feel that way about everybody, actually.
Okay.
Would you read 21?
21. When he drank some of its wine, am I muted? No, okay,
No, you're
sorry.
fine. You're coming
Cool.
through loud and clear.
Beautiful. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent.
Really? Okay.
That's
and still in context of Noah, the giver of rest, and drank the apportioned effervescent wine, and was abundantly merry and drunk on it, and became obvious, ending the mystery in the midst of their clear and shining temporary tabernacle. The king whom their father is Jabal, the stream of water irrigating and bringing forth.
I can't help but ask. I didn't know the Jews had a tabernacle at this point.
Well, it's not talking about a literal tabernacle at all.
Well, a tabernacle technically is a tent, but
yes, it's right.
Holds the Holy of Holies.
In this case, it's a clear and shining temporary tabernacle. That's why tent.
That's weird because all tabernacles are temporary, unless you think of the Mormons, who they have a Mormon tabernacle choir, but they sing in of what we would think of as cathedrals. Sorry, that's not helpful. Please keep going.
I actually found that very clarifying. I appreciate that. I didn't know that's what a tabernacle was supposed to be.
Yeah, there's two kinds of tabernacles in the Bible. There's a permanent kind and there's a temporary kind. Both are clear and shining. But in context, the temporary tabernacle of the lowly people is this earth. And then the permanent tabernacle and housing of God, the high holy place, that only the priest must enter first, is the habitation of God, heaven, and is represented as a permanent tabernacle.
Can you help us understand this last part? The kind whom their father is Jabal, stream of water irrigating and bringing forth?
Right. A stream of water irrigating and bringing forth, where water is a large group of people. The large group of people that irrigate and bring forth, that is the crop, talking about grapes, is those that seed the earth, and then those who bring them into ascension. So Jabal is the father of those who do that kind of thing, which you'll notice is a larger group and does not belong, is not part of the offspring of Noah. Jabal was not one of Noah's kids.
So what's he doing there?
Well, it's a larger view of heaven, talking about even how the giver of rest is not ultimately in charge and the only one active. But it was actually Jabal who makes the stream of water irrigating and bringing forth, and or angels who perform the work.
Right. It just jumps out at me here. All of a sudden we've got Jabal.
Yes.
Does Jabal actually mean stream of water?
No, that's a literal translation, yeah. Stream of water irrigating and bringing forth. That's what Jabal means.
Okay. Thanks.
Which is why I have it in partial caps, like it's the title of a movie or something.
Yes, yeah, that's what I thought you meant.
Because it's a proper name, yeah.
Right.
If you read it from the original text and you spoke the language, you wouldn't even see the word Jabal there. You'd see stream of water. And then if you looked into what stream of water means, it means that which irrigates and brings forth crop.
Right.
So Jabal is like an irrigation ditch for your crops. That's what the word Jabal means.
Sure.
Okay. And 22, please, if you would, Mac.
Got it. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his two brothers outside.
Oh my gosh, that's short. Those who grew warm is or are the chief of Canaan, those subjected by traffickers, and Ham, who grew warm, then perceived, and it was made naked to them, the pudenda of and most intimate shames of the chief father. And Ham, those who grew warm, were messengers to his brothers, the other two brothers who were severed abroad. And there's a little bit of depth of meaning in this, actually. To see the pudenda, for anyone who doesn't know that, in white northeastern culture and throughout the military, from what I can tell, we call this your taint. It's the piece of skin that is the most covered by your body in natural positions. Between your legs, between sexual organs and anus, pudenda. Okay? The word walk in Hebrew means to stretch your pudenda. It doesn't mean to put one foot in front of the other. That's not what walk means. So to see the pudenda and the most intimate shames of the chief father, which that's a direct translation of that name right there, would mean you fully understood the chief father. So if I said, who fully understands the chief father?
The son.
The son. He even says so in no uncertain terms. So when it says the one who sees the shames of the chief father, his other two brothers are severed abroad, and he's to be a messenger to his brothers. This is why he is brought low and shamed.
The other two brothers who were severed abroad.
Yes.
But the brother, I'm not sure what that could mean, because the brothers are, right next door. They didn't.
That's right. That's because all of them are severed abroad and in a temporary tabernacle. And when it says severed abroad, it means away from heaven.
There was also something, I did some reading about this particular part.
Yeah, go ahead.
And there are some scholars, and it's not 100%, who think that this bit about Ham seeing his father naked is some sort of expression to indicate sexual impropriety on the part of Ham. And specifically son-mother incest.
Yes. They're going to have to do something to justify their reading of it. I'll agree with that. Because the way they read it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I don't know. I don't know what to say about all this. It does seem really weird, even the way it's phrased. And as you pointed out, Richard, they leave so much out of the translation. It always makes me wonder, did the ancient people who wrote this, if they weren't allowed to use a phrase like incest, did they have some sort of way of referring to it? You don't want to say the word motherfucker in your holy book. Did they? Well, at any rate, I have no way of justifying that opinion. So that Ham was sexually inappropriate.
Well, what they need to be able to explain in their their preconceived notions about the context, is why it's bad he saw his own dad naked, because it seems the punishment doesn't suit the crime, and that's what they're trying to justify, I believe.
Yes.
Now, in a more literal reading, it's just about talking about the one who sees God fully, and that makes him the servant of his brothers. So to see naked, just like David dancing naked before the Lord, doesn't mean he's without clothing. It just doesn't mean that. It means he was obvious to God.
Okay.
Like God he doesn't need to know anything about your clothing or about your anatomy to see you fully. So actually, you could say that everyone dances naked before the Lord in a biblical sense. So like that, to see your father naked is to perfectly see your father. But the word father right there can mean, it doesn't necessarily mean, but I think context dictates it means the chief father, the planter of the vineyard. I mean, I could lead a Christian to have to admit that by saying something like, who controls the earth? Does he call himself a vineyard keeper? Then isn't the vineyard keeper the one who created the earth? Well, if the vineyard keeper is the one that created the earth, and he calls us grapes and part of the vine, and the vine being Christ, and then the grapes being us, the fruit that's produced, and all these kind of allegories, eventually I can work them around where they have to admit that this is talking about Christ understanding God.
So because the tabernacle is supposed to contain the Holy of Holies. And
which tabernacle?
Well, the one the Hebrews took around with the Ark of the Covenant.
Yes, in the Ark of the Covenant. Yes, go ahead.
Well, is this supposed to be a precursor to that, or a retelling of it? That someone who was not supposed to enter the tent, only the high priest was, and in this case, someone entered the tent and saw God in his nakedness, so to speak, and that's why he's being punished.
No, he's not being punished. He's being rewarded
by being made a servant.
Yes, to his brothers, those who can be persuaded, and those who grow warm to the idea as it's presented. That's talking about the second half of end times.
Yeah, you know what? I'd like to shut up and let you keep going.
Look, there is Christianity is so prevalent in European descent society, where I am sure you have been presented what you're talking about probably thousands of times in your life. Now, I can't blame you for what they've said to you 1,000 times. That wouldn't even make sense. Okay. And by the way, you're doing a pretty good steelman of the position that they hold. So you're doing a good job of representing it to what they actually say. But as soon as you start to look at these terms and the way that they're used throughout the text, what they espouse just makes no sense at all. Like, why would you be punished for seeing the deepest secrets of the giver of rest?
Yes, and also his father was drunk, and I think in our regular understanding of the Bible, his father needed help, right?
No, he doesn't need any. No, he doesn't.
Well,
in the regular understanding, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The father being the chief father, the one who plants the vineyard, which produces grapes, which are us. In other words, formed this planet, or terraformed this planet. That one is the same as the chief father, referred to that way many times throughout the text. That's what Abba means, is father. And then to say the chief father is to say Abram, right? And then if you said the father of the multitudes, that's the word Abraham, right?
Mm.
So that's all referring to God. And if I said God was, biblically speaking, drunken on us, that's like being mushy with love, something like that. Of course, Christians will tell you God's angry with you, but there's nothing in the Bible about that. I don't know. I feel like I didn't really address what you actually said. Did that make any sense for you?
I suppose I just I like, I'm with you on the fact that these take if you were to take a regular translation of the Bible, we have ridiculous situations where a guy who glimpses his father naked is sentenced to subjugation.
Right.
And
That
that's
kind of doesn't make sense.
unacceptable.
Right.
And yet, going from the text here on the screen now, it seems to me that it takes a leap of faith to get where you are. And I don't mean that in a
I don't take it.
in a
I'll
sort of
take it as a
pun or anything.
But you know I'm cheating here, right? Because I've read the whole book, and we're talking about a few sections of it.
My feelings is that because everything stands for something else, the waters are the people. Then how do you, if the brothers aren't actually brothers but stand for something else?
Well, we are all brothers according to the Bible, yeah.
Well, yeah, but how do we know what means what? If and what if they wanted to talk about the waters rather than?
Well, H2O is not an important topic, and it's barely mentioned in the Bible at all. In fact, I could show you where from all the way to, let me see if I can remember this. I took every occurrence of the word waters from the Bible and interchanging it with either human being or angel works quite well. And I did from Genesis 1:1 all the way to Genesis, I think I stopped at like 6:18 or something, but there was like 20 of them.
Mm.
And it didn't cause an issue, a logical problem whatsoever. In fact, it agrees more with the text when you say things like, if you say something like oceans brought forth all life, is that even part of the Darwinistic theory?
Yes.
No, salt water did not bring forth all life. But if I said angels put stuff on the planet, is that biblically consistent?
Have angels coming down to earth and teaching men and women new things.
Those were rebellious angels. That's another topic.
Yes, that's true. But I don't remember anything, and correct me if I'm wrong, where angels come to earth and bring life. We have God doing it in.
No, that word there is Elohim. It's not God.
Oh, which could be right, which could be angels. Yeah.
Well, it could be evil angels. It could be good ones. But if we think that we are a good thing to exist and this earth is a good place to support us, then it was a good thing to do.
Oh, in the chat, Dennis Hoven, the Denisovan, asked, "Are we grapes or waters?" And
we are actually both grapes and waters, depending on which part of the Bible you're talking about.
Right. Well, grapes is a wonderful image for people because you have one vine, but many individuals coming forth from it.
Sure. Yeah, the whole idea of clusters, and actually we started out on the earth in clusters, and then we're gathered together for the quote unquote wine press. which literally will press us to make a decision according to the story. Yeah, it's pretty good allegory, actually. Great. Yeah, and Waters works really well for a lot of it as well.
All right. Well, sorry, I feel like I'm talking too much. So, Mac, it's your turn to talk.
Pretty sure you're not.
Yeah, you're definitely not. I feel like if we need to spend, another hour on 922, that's totally justified. Right. It's fine. Yeah. It's a confounding one. So
is there anything more is there some part of it that doesn't make sense, at least in this internal critique I'm presenting, where there is one who sees the Father naked? He's made most low of all of the children. He becomes a servant to his brothers who either grow warm or that, what was the other term? Grow warm and
open to persuasion.
Open to persuasion. Thank you. That was the other one.
And I do have a question about traffickers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because traffickers, we in the modern sense, we think of human trafficking. But
yes, we
traffickers could just mean trade.
Yeah, it means businessmen, yeah.
And the Canaanites, in later times, were known for being traders. They were on the coast.
Did you just switch to history?
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's skip that. Let's skip actual history.
Okay.
It really has almost nothing to do with the text.
Fair enough.
Would you go on unless you had something else?
No.
23, if you would, because we need to get to the end of the topic.
Right on.
For it to make sense.
All right. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. Then they walked in backward and covered their father's naked body. Their faces were turned the other way so that they would not see their father naked.
Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of context missing there.
You see, that's what makes me think of the tabernacle and the Holy of Holies. Because if you had to enter into a place where you shouldn't be, that's what you would do.
You're going backward,
yeah.
There's a total parallel there.
There is an actual parallel here, because this is what we're talking about, is seeing God from the position of the temporary dwelling. That's the topic here overall. But him of the name of conspicuous position, that's a description of Christ. Him of the name of conspicuous position, which is literally what Shem means. And Japheth, him who is open to persuasion, fetched out a well-fitted covering, appointed beforehand, considered to be altered by time from earlier, and shouldered it. They accepted it, or they become like a beast of burden. And going evilly backward again, which backward means evil, and closed what was discovered of the chief father by looking evilly backward again, and poured out, and regarded not the chief father's discovered pudenda and most intimate secrets. This is denial of the new paradigm.
So why is it evilly backward? Or is that you making clear that backward means evil in your translation?
It's part of the definition of backward that it is evil.
Yes, but in the sentence it says evilly backward.
Yes.
And, well, okay, I think I get it now. Sorry, keep going.
It's just the etymology of the word backward. Just like to turn left is to go astray, to turn right is to go toward the target you always wanted. To go backward is to act evilly, act in evil. So what they're doing here is they're acting evilly, going backward again, and ignoring or closed up what was discovered of the chief father. And they do this by looking evilly backward again.
Oh, so the other two sons.
And they poured out and or rejected and regarded not, that is, didn't pay attention to, the chief fathers discovered pudenda and most intimate secrets. This is just being traditional.
I don't get it, because it makes it sound like they looked at their naked father, but they didn't at the same time. Or
right, that's exactly right.
Yeah, or
they knew he was naked, and they rejected the fact.
I wonder if this business of looking at someone's pudenda had something more to it than just nakedness, if that carried another meaning.
Yes, that's what I've been trying to describe. This is a book about spirituality. This is not a history lesson.
Well, no, I'm not used to spiritual books having mentions of someone's taint. For example, there's a wonderful book called The Cloud of Unknowing, which I recommend people read. It's an amazing book. But that was filled with spirituality, but we didn't have...
Was there anything in this spiritual expression about discovery?
I suppose, but not discovering a taint.
Was it discovery of secret things?
Secret things.
Things that were secret to you before you discovered them.
I suppose, yes. I would say so.
Now, how would you get more personal and secret than pudenda?
Oh God. I just maybe I'm a prude and I don't know it, but this seems like a non-starter. It seems like biblical. It's tempting to disregard what's in the Bible, to think I don't need this.
Well, anyone is welcome to, of course, and let's not forget that the one to fully understand all of this is the hero. So, I mean, I'm extremely happy to have what I have of it, but only the hero would really dig this writing. It's written for him. So if it's a little bit off-putting or offensive, congratulations, you're not Christ. That's a big burden off of you.
Alrighty. Well, the usually with spiritual things, there's a tendency to regard, while you are on Earth, to try and achieve a mystical union with the divine.
Well, that's the story of the hero.
Yes, but I don't see that in this book.
Well, we haven't gotten to that part yet,
no, that's
except
true.
For that it said he saw the pudenda of the Father.
Yeah, which I don't regard as spiritual, but it could have a meaning that I don't understand.
Well, it's not talking about the physical at all, is my point.
Yeah.
Now, you might find some of this a little bit offensive or what. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mac.
I just agree that it's a little strange. If that's the message that it's trying to convey, it's a strange way to do it. But I mean, I think it does fit what you're saying. I think if you're looking for a body part that represents the most hidden thing, that would be it. Even just sort of anatomically, even if it didn't come with the cultural, shame and things like that are associated with that area. But especially with those cultural trappings, it could represent that. So,
I do feel odd, because here we're seeing Noah's pudenda, or at least Shem's, and Ham. Or is it Ham? Ham sees this, and the thing is that lots of people have been drunk, and maybe drunk and naked, but you don't see their pudenda. Was Noah practicing yoga in this tent while drunk?
I don't know. A couple weeks ago, somebody walked up from the bar and she was extremely drunk.
Mhm. Yeah.
And stumbled on the curb and fell and went pretty much upside down.
Okay.
I chose to look away. Had I looked, I think. But anyway.
So where's this bar? It sounds terrific.
It's
oh man,
El
it's at the
Patina Pudenda is the name.
it's at the no. It's at the corner. You don't really want to. It's in Santa Fe. I'm in Santa Fe.
Right. Yeah,
I'll buy you a coffee if you ever come here. I'm not taking you to the bar though.
Okay. Sorry. Anyway, enough of sidetracking. Take us home there, Richard.
Well, I'm afraid we're not finished the topic yet.
Yeah, that's. Well, I meant. Please continue.
Oh, okay. Well, then go ahead at 24, please.
all right. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done to him, comma. The end of the verse is in the middle of the sentence.
Yeah. The giver of rest awoke from the effervescent wine and acknowledged him who is the self-loathing, smallest family building block son, and what he had wrought for him. That last him there would be Noah, or the giver of rest. This is recognition of the primary son who is held lowest for being the servant, and what he brings to Noah. 25.
And he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren."
Then promised the giver of rest a bitter curse to subjected by traffickers, the sons of those who grew warm, to make themselves to serve the servants of Jehovah. So will you be to your kindred.
That's pretty straightforward.
I think so.
Yeah, although
Context for this.
to my mind is, I wouldn't have seen you naked, Dad, if you weren't a drunken shit. Right.
Right.
And by the way, Dad, fuck you very much. Right.
Okay. In our culture, in our government,
Yes.
the government claims to be servants, but what they really mean is servants of themselves. Now, if it were a benevolent government, which it's not and can't be on this earth, but if there were a benevolent government, like a good king that happened several times in small fiefdoms, they were a servant to the people. They took care of the people. So you could say that they were lower than the people in that way, that they were a servant. The Bible, to express this, often calls Christ a slave. So I think that's consistent to say he is the highest by being the lowest, which is all about the foot washing and all that sort of thing, is all expressing that.
So Jesus was a Canaanite in a sense.
Yeah.
And
But you'll notice there was also the one of appointed name in the same scene. That is, they're using the one of appointed name and or Christ. I'm sorry, him of conspicuous position, not the appointed name. Him of conspicuous position. They're using Christ in a traditional way, and they're shouldering that, and they're walking evilly backward, covering up what was exposed about the Father. That is, they're denying the obvious revelation.
Was there anything about this to say that Ham or any of the brothers should not have gone into this tent in the first place?
Well, you have no choice. The tent shows up on your doorstep.
Yes, but you see what I mean? Like, what if there were many tents, and this particular tent, the sons were not to enter? If you see, this is where the father went to get drunk. And
to plant the vineyard means to make an earth. In other words, it's not your fault that you're here. And you have no choice about whether or not this earth is temporary. It is. Even if you don't believe in God, the earth's still temporary. Either you're going to die of old age, or you could take it in the broader sense and say the sun someday is going to go nova. And then guess what? No more people on the planet after that, for sure. So it's temporary either way. But in biblical context, it's saying it's temporary to the time that we retrieve you off the earth. So that's why it's called the temporary but shining tabernacle or tent.
To include chat in this, Rainbug has said, no, it was Britney Spears climbing out of a window, a limo. And
was there a shot of that? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Gary Priestley has said, Richard Madsen, you are chef's kiss. Awesome. Stay safe and well. I didn't know that was called a chef's kiss.
You know, to put your forefinger and thumb in a pinched fashion against the lips and then remove it suddenly while making a kissing sound. Like that is really tasty.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was slow on the uptake there again. By the way, you mentioned praise be Jehovah angels for Shem.
Yes.
Then answered Ham, those of who grew warm. So they're praising the angels of Jehovah.
Well, yes.
And yeah, it just again seems a strange construction, but I wouldn't but of course it's being translated from God knows how old of a language, so I guess I shouldn't be too perturbed by it.
I see. I
because, for example,
right there.
If you read, the Scarlet Letter, there's a sort of preamble to it or a forward, and you realize that these goddamn educated early Americans all knew Greek, and they loved it so much that they like to write English as if it were Greek and put verbs at the ends of sentences.
It's true.
Which you do in Latin and maybe Greek, but you don't do it in English. So they would torture the English language to put the verb at the end of the sentence. And it really took some rewiring my brain to read this stuff. I eventually came to appreciate it, but it was truly horrible at the time. Anyway, back to you, Richard.
And back to the text, if you would, Mac.
Yeah.
Okay. So 26 is, he also said, praise be to the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. And I think that's what Zebra was just referring to in your translation. The Jehovah's angels for Shem.
Yeah. Then answered Ham, those who grew warm. Then answered those who grew. You can leave the word Ham out.
Right.
It really doesn't belong there. I'm just trying to get it into the person's brain who reads this that Ham means those who grow warm, which the T right there is supposed to be capitalized. Let me fix that. Then answered those who grow warm. What's that?
Sorry, the NIV makes it sound like it's still Noah speaking here, not Ham.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, just wanted to point that out.
Well, I don't know why they do that, but it's hard to tell. Sometimes it's hard for me to justify why they do certain things. Praised be Jehovah angels for those of appointed name. And it will be that those subjected by traffickers, it will come to pass. And there's an untranslated word right there in the King James. I thought it meant to them. And I checked with Dr. Bowen. He said, yes, it means to them, which is a great hint that I'm reading this correctly because it's confirming the context. When I can see a Hebrew word, I can't look it up because no translation exists. And then a scholar who knows more because today they know more than they did when they wrote the Greek lexicon to say, yes, that does mean that. Will be his worshiper servants. it will come to pass. It will happen to them that they will be his worshiper servants. That is those of appointed name, Shem, will say, those who grew warm will say, praised be Jehovah angels for those of appointed name. And it will be, they become adopted into those of appointed name because they became circumcised. They changed their mind, you see. So they're the ones declaring this. It doesn't even make sense that Noah would declare this. But anyway.
So this is the next group that joins.
Yeah, it's all talking about them converting.
Right. All right. And then 27 is still inside the same quotes. It says, may God extend Japheth's territory. May Japheth live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be the slave of Japheth.
Wow.
That's a harsh
so it literally
translation.
says Elohim here. Angels will allure those open to persuasion. That is, people seeing actual angels will help persuade them to rest and dwell in the habitation of the shining tabernacle. Nothing about it is temporary. So heaven, with those of appointed name, and it will be better for them. And those subjected by traffickers, it will also be better to them as worshiper servants.
I was wondering about this business of the shining tabernacle, because in many places you might use limestone and polish it, and that would be the outer surface, which does shine in the sunlight quite brightly.
It certainly does.
But I don't know if these temples that the Jews built used limestone. They might have just been stone, and that was that.
Well, I got to say, I'm not very concerned with what people in the history of this planet did, trying to imitate what they saw in the text.
Yeah.
That they thought they were supposed to do. But in the text itself, the shining tabernacle, which is a permanent place to house in, or ark, is described as being magenta red, or what's the word they use? Jasper.
Okay. Interesting.
I also dug out the root word of the word tent in this verse, and it's shine, but it's shining in a clear way, like a clearly shining. I think you used that translation on the first time they used tent above. But the clear, like a clear shining. So different than polished limestone, I think. More like almost like it's luminescent.
Like it was silk or something.
Do you remember from the book of Revelation, Mac, that there's a light emitting from the throne of God that is green or emerald in color?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah. Luminescent.
Luminescent, specifically, yes.
Yeah. Very cool.
So you can see through it, but it's shining. Right.
Right, exactly.
Incidentally, I think that's a force field, because we're going to throw every howitzer we got at heaven when it gets here.
It's going to be crazy.
Well, we're going to freak out. Obviously, we're going to freak out. That's why Adam and Eve hide themselves from the face of God in the Garden of Eden in the cool of the day. The whole deal's almost over. It's almost night. Night being the end, right? And the beginning of a new day. So they're in the cool of the day, or evening, right before night. God shows up, and what do? They freak out. Otherwise, in the text, it says they hide themselves in caves and caverns from the face of God, because who can stand? I really abbreviated that.
Right.
So I take it that this ship, when it descends, or many ships, They'll descend upon the Holy Land?
No. The Holy
so
Land isn't big enough to cover the shadow of any one of them.
So, but it would be centered there, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I mean, when the text says things like Holy Land, that's probably better translated as heaven. And when it says temporary Holy Land, that kind of an idea, that's better translated as the whole planet.
Okay.
It's not in the Near East at all. It includes the Near East, sure.
Sure.
But try to imagine 29 red spherical objects. 24 of them would stretch halfway across the United States. 4 of them would stretch completely across the United States. And one of them is bigger than the planet itself.
Right.
I don't know how that would descend on only some part of the Gaza Strip or whatever.
Yeah, fair enough. So the scale is enormous. And if that actually happened, I would either be watching it happen on CNN or shitting my pants.
I'm going to go for crapping your pants because if the prophecy happens in the order and magnitude given, there'll be no electricity. That is, the Tower of Babel will fall. There'll be no internet.
So but of course, anyone would be able to, on the planet, would be able to look outside their window and see something.
I think you'd have a hard time ignoring it, actually. Yeah.
Yes. All right.
I think you're pretty much going to need a coma to ignore the event.
I want to shut up again and give you a chance to speak, so keep going.
All right. Well, according to my NIV here, not mine, but the one in front of me, there's only 2 verses left, but I read ahead on Richard's there, and it looks like it keeps going. But but the 2 verses are.
We're going to stop real soon anyway, though, because there is a continuation of the same idea. You could perceive it as a topic change. It'll be a good place to stop.
Okay, cool. So 28 is after the flood. Noah lived 350 years.
Okay. The giver of rest was quickened. The word is not even lived there. It's quickened or vivified, which means perfected, not lived. After the deluge or flood of the large group of beings, and the number there, although it makes sense in the English as 350.
Yeah.
The terms 300 and then 50 mean harmonious, God-elected Jubilee years.
But
I expect the giver of rest would be quickened for harmonious, godly, elected Jubilee years.
How often did the Jubilee happen? Was it once every 25 years?
Well, the year of Jubilee is, and then there's a Great Jubilee or something that means that. And that is every 7, and then 49, and then the 50th year is the Great Jubilee.
Oh, okay.
Now that's a Hebrew tradition. It's always divisible by 7, and then the next thing changes, and it makes for a different count that doesn't divide easily by 7. But let's see, back to StreamYard, and let me stop that. And so it's. Steve, it's very much like it makes my brain hurt when I hear that they're literally looking for a cow with only red hair.
Right.
But that's something the Jews are actually doing because the Bible in their language mentions a red heifer as a sign of the Messiah.
Oh. Is that
so
why
they're
you're
literally looking for a cow that has less than 3 white hairs.
Right. Where does that happen in the Bible? What are they translating?
Well, like I said, they can read it in their home language. You don't. When you read the King James, there's nothing about a red heifer.
Oh, okay.
But they know there is one. because they know what those words mean. Now, the mistranslation, the misunderstanding about red heifer is that it's not a sign of the Messiah, it is the Messiah. Not a cow is Jesus. Jesus is being called feminine, like as in gentle and patient. Cow, as in beast of burden. Red, as in hair color. Which is why I dye my beard, is out of respect of the Christ. Because I read that stuff too.
Right. Okay.
But they're literally looking for a red cow.
Yeah.
And they literally kill stuff and burn it to God, by the way. They do that.
Yeah, there's also that chicken thing where to atone your sins, you wave a chicken over your head.
It has to be alive and bleeding.
Yeah.
Sounds
like
messy.
They're taking this like literal in the weirdest damned way.
Hey, I've sidetracked you again. Please keep going.
Well, I think we're done with the topic. Now we can discuss any incoherencies or inconsistencies with the rest of the Bible or within the parts we just read.
Well, my take on it was there was an interesting thing that I'd read about the early Hebrews, is that they were regarded as mercenaries. And
the Hebrew were not a gentle slave people. That's not true. They were roaming mercenaries.
Yes, and
pretty damn successful ones.
Yeah, and it seems to me this business about coming out of Egypt and casting off casting off being slaves.
Well, the Lord does bring them out of Egypt where they were slaves.
Well, it's the Bible.
Now, what does the word slave there mean, and what does the word Egypt mean?
Oh, Egypt does have a meaning, but I can't remember what the hell it is.
It means divided. In greater context, they're divided from those in heaven. That is, there was a group of waters that are divided. The waters started out all in heaven, but then an earth is created, a firmament below is created, and where the waters above, in the firmament above, are throughout the firmament, on the firmament below, they're on top of the firmament, or on the outside of it. But that's because you can't be on the outside of a spaceship and live. But you can be on the outside of a planet with atmosphere and live. So the waters are separated below from the waters above. That's how they're divided and why they're spread abroad.
I was thinking divided was a reference to the upper and lower kingdom of Egypt. But your interpretation makes more sense with the total narrative you have. So
yeah, the whole area that in the Bible, the area referred to that Egypt is part of is kosmos or cosmos or physicality. That is the entirety of what's physical. And then I said Egypt was divider. Actually, Pharaoh means divider. Egypt means limited. So they're slaves because they're limited by a divider within physicality. That's why they're slaves, because they're divided and limited.
You see, I thought that it might have been a bit of spin on behalf of those who wrote these books, that they were slaves as an explanation for why they ran into Canaan, took all the land, and killed everybody. Putting it
that works pretty good in Christianity.
Well, I mean, it would, instead of saying, it seems natural for me for the victors to say, well, God is on our side, of course. That's why we won. And we took this land only because God wanted us to have it. And it seems so self-serving.
It would be very, very self-serving in Judaism and Christianity to follow. But the description of the Garden of Eden is a description of the whole planet. And when it says promised land, it doesn't mean anything about the Gaza Strip. Heaven's the promised land.
Right. Which sounds a lot better than some real estate on the east of the Mediterranean.
It's not even really good real estate.
Well, at that time, it might have been. After cutting down,
but it's not promised at that time. It's promised in the future when it gets after it's been. And go look at it, man. It's not nice there.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a lot of imported stuff there. Is what I'm saying.
All right. Sorry again. I tend to like to ask you questions, Richard, and feel
no, that's fine.
Throwing the brakes.
No, this is the purpose of it. You keep apologizing, but you're really wasting your time by apologizing, although you're extremely nice.
Okay, I'm not going to apologize anymore. If anything, I'm going to be inconsiderate.
There you go. That's much better.
Excellent.
Be self-serving and inconsiderate as much as you can stand to be, because that's what I'm trying to do here is serve other people. I mean, I really don't need this. I personally don't need this show in the least. I'm never going to monetize this channel no matter how many subscribers and how many watch hours. I can afford to support it. I work, I make enough money that I'm not really worried about money. And I'm semi-retired aside from all that. I don't need this show at all. But if this is true, it's going to make people's lives easier when the things happen. That's what I care about.
Well, I really like the way your translation of the Bible is turning out.
It keeps getting better. Believe it or not, it stays consistent with the highest levels of morality, appeals to no magic, and it just keeps getting clearer the further you go with it. This is all laying groundwork. All of this is just groundwork for the rest of the story. So if you say, well, the groundwork seems like it has some holes in it, I agree with you. It's because the groundwork isn't all set. Now, is this wordy? Yes. It's wordy.
Well, there's no other choice if you're trying to explain the meaning, which from one language to another. I mean, can you imagine all the idioms in English and trying to explain, like, for example, to someone who's never seen sardines, if you use the phrase, we were packed in there like sardines. Right,
you're going to have to explain some stuff there.
Yeah.
That's right.
And anyway.
Oh, that you just remind me of a Steve Martin short story. You ever heard of the people who came to America from Turdsmania?
No, I have read some of his short fiction, but I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, the people were originally, and you know, they were coming over on boats back in those days to Ellis Island, and these people were from Turdsmania, and they referred to themselves as turds because they were. So on the crossing over, when they first came on to the boats, the people, you know, actually captaining the boat and running the boat, they'd never heard of Turdsmania. It's such a small country. Most of you, I'm sure, have never heard of it. But the turds asked, and they just asked, I think, the first mate, where do the turds stay? And he replied, they have to stay in the turds stay in the head, meaning the bathroom. So for the people of Turdsmania, very crowded coming to America, very crowded.
Yes.
What a weirdo! I love Steve Martin. He's freaking brilliant. That's brilliant. So strange.
I love that.
Yeah. I read his book called Shop Girl. It was Shop Girl and Other Stories. I think that was the title, and I thought his writing was really good. It's a shame
The turds were part of Best Fishes
Best Fishes
instead of Best Wishes.
Oh,
He did a series of short stories called Best Fishes.
I like it.
I have to check that out. I admire his banjo playing. Steve Martin.
Yeah, it's really something.
You know what? I mean, I was a fan, and I was a fan for years because of Saturday Night Live and 9-inch TV, black and white on a 50-foot extension cord, watching it live when I was 9, and Mom would have freaked if she knew I was watching that because that's not for 9-year-old kids. But trying to stifle the laughs. Every Saturday night, Sunday morning at 1 o'clock in the morning, I remember it vividly.
That's awesome.
Up in the attic with an extension cord and the retired television, watching Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy and the Belushi brothers, and oh my gosh! And I mean, I was a fan of Steve Martin anyway, but when he did The Man with Two Brains, where he wrote that his character would have to do a handstand walking backwards, reciting the alphabet backwards, and he knew he was able to do it, and he did it. I went, holy, that's concentration, man.
Dedication too.
That is,
yes.
Like, how did you learn to do that?
And then at one point, he's juggling kittens on the side of the road because he's been pulled over for a cop suspected of drinking and driving. And he's asked to do this, and then juggle kittens. And then at some point he says, "Man, your drunk tests are hard."
Right.
That's the same scene I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's
amazing
great
stuff.
Yeah, he did comment in there that the sobriety test was a little bit overboard in his opinion. But he wrote the script, so that's even funnier.
That's great.
Okay, so where were we? I think it's consistent within the Bible that the Father is the vineyard keeper, which is why that name is necessary. And he's also the giver of rest. But there's those that precede him in the name Jabal, which is a provider of how he stalks the planet, which is interesting. And that to see the pudenda, or the most secret parts of the Father, is to see the secrets of God. That is, the Father is the active hand of God in this scenario, the one who terraformed this planet is being called the Father. And the reason he's called the Father is because he's the father of the hero. They have that intimate relationship, father and son relationship. Firstborn, but not born first. Which is why you always get the story of the supplanting younger brother and the grandpa with arms crossed to make the lesser one the higher. Because to be in the lesser position, the younger brother, is to be in the highest position. Thus, him who sees God is made a lowly servant to his brothers, if all that made sense.
Yeah, it's pretty clear to me. I mean, this reading is definitely apparent, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know what to say because for me it's as clear as mud. But
well, you could say that the Father is apparent.
So well, what can I tell you? But I like it. So,
Okay, let's tap the brains. Let's do some spinal tapping of those who are actually stayed to the end of the show, if any of you did. So write whatever you want in the side chat, guys, and if it's a question or challenge, we'll do our best to address it. Good humor is appreciated as well. And if you like good humor, check out bigzebra.com. It's not just a scream name. It's an actual .com. It's an actual site.
Okay, well, it'll take a good 30 seconds for chat to catch up with
I would think so.
your transmission. So,
guys, thanks for hanging in there tonight. I know we went long on this topic, but both reading from the King James and then referring back to the lexicon to get what I think is a more thorough translation, not leaving out some of these terms. It is going to be time consuming. Yeah, I think we're not going to get any questions. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. There's somebody screaming my name. Apparently there's a broken machine upstairs or something that they want me to take care of.
Okay, so, good luck, Richard.
All right. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for your challenges, Steve and Mac. Thanks for helping reading for us from the King James. Appreciate it, or the NIV. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So to all of you who may watch this in the future, and all of you who showed up, thank you very much for viewing this. I hope you watch it to the end at some point. Because if you didn't watch it to the end, I'm afraid you're going to be missing some context. But until next time, guys, I want you all to know that I truly do look forward to the day that as brothers, whether open to persuasion or of appointed name or growing warm, that we'll all be great friends in heaven. Peace, guys.